Hey, what's up, y'all?
What's
We
up?
back.
What's up?
What
We
up?
back. Fire Session Podcast, Season 3. We're back again. We got a lot of great interviews, a lot of great topics coming for you this season. I had to bring my people with me, especially on this first episode of the season. I
What's
got
up?
Miss Tori. What's up, Miss Tori?
Hey.
And
Good
I
to see
got
you. Good to see you.
I got
Corey.
Benji Banks.
What's happening with you, man?
Hey, how was y'all week? How was your week, Miss Tori?
It's good. So far it's good. I'm loving the Olympics. Hate the timing of it because sometimes the races are at 4:30 in the morning. So
Mm.
guess who's watching it? So but yeah, I had a good week. Great
Well, I
week.
mean, I know it's
The
just getting started, but we
are.
just gotta make sure that we getting off to a good start.
Right?
We are.
Benji, how about you? First, I know it's only Tuesday, but how's your week started off so far?
Man, it starts off good, man. I love Mondays, man. Everybody come by, they faded from the weekend. So I be chilling. So I go in the office. I'm good, man. You know what I'm saying? I know how to chill. But
Yeah.
I mean, man, nothing to complain about, man. Everything's good. Team USA won. So
Fine. Well, it looks like we're on track finally.
Yes, we
finally, because of
are.
that boy Jason Tatum from the Celtics, remember that?
Oh
Yep.
my
Well, I
goodness.
think it's that, and it's also a chemistry thing. I think we're developing better chemistry each game they go along, and they understand the stakes at hand. Like
Right.
you cannot come home with less than gold.
Yeah, it
Exactly.
started out kind of shaky a little bit. I was I
Wow.
was I was like, "Oof, no, this is not happening."
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need the pressure.
Yeah. Yep. You're right. You're right. Speaking of pressure, today we're going to be talking about parenting in 2021.
Lord help.
Yes, help
Y'all,
us all.
if y'all are parents, some of y'all are new parents or newer parents, you have smaller kids. Everybody on the show today is pretty is pretty experienced in
Right.
parenting. We all have at least 20 years of experience in parenting. We all
Right.
have a child at least 20 years of age or older.
Yeah.
So we have watched, that's 2 decades of being a parent, and
Right.
that's a lot of change.
Right.
And plus you have to look at, how long, we've been living. And so we had parents, so we grew up and we watched the things that they had to do for us. So we've seen a ton of changes in the
Yes.
way parenting occurs. So I have my trusty list as I always do. So at the top of my list, I wanted to get this out the way off the top because we're still in it. The pandemic.
Oh gosh.
The
Yeah.
pandemic forced parenting into a whole new dynamic. So Tori, like during the
Yes.
pandemic, like talk about one thing or one main thing that you had to change as far as your parenting style or in parenting during the pandemic that the pandemic kind of forced you to change.
Wow, it really was. It was a lot of change because we all have all these different schedules, and then sometimes a lot of we're just kind of like ships passing in the night. But then to have my little one, he's in the fourth grade, and so to have him at home, I think one of the things that was a big change to me was the noise. Oh, it was it was like a lot of noise, and then of course trying to get used to setting him up virtually, and then you can hear all the kids in the background, and here I am working at home trying to edit some videos or some interviews, and you hear all the stuff in the background, and we're in like totally separate rooms, different sides of the house, but when you're so used to it being quiet, that one little sound is what irritates you, and I can't go in there and be like shh because he's in class.
Right.
So I think getting used to just getting him on an at home schedule, getting used to the noise, kind of like okay, making his noise part of my day. So that took a little bit of getting used to.
Right.
Yeah, I bet it did.
Right.
How about you, Benji?
I'm fortunate. My son my baby boy is the type. He's the tech geek type. Sit at home, computer type. He's on the video games, all that type of stuff. So it fit him very, very, very well. So and plus, shout out to his mom. Like, she does a excellent job with him. So as far as schooling is concerned, so that's been pretty dope. But my kid transitioned very, very, very well. He was a kid who was already getting the President's Award at the school, and was doing well, and then was concerned, a little bit about him transitioning into being at home. But once he got, it's like finding his element. And I
Yeah.
think that was the thing for me, because I was concerned, how would he do? Because my others are visual learners, you know what I mean? Like, they need to
Right.
see. And then the pandemic just came up on us. And so you're, as a parent, you're kind of worried, how would he, but he transitioned so well, man. It's like no complaints whatsoever. And now they're talking about having them back into class. So it's going to be another transition. So it's been great up until this point. But man, seeing him just thrive from home is actually
Mhm.
pretty cool. And he's a self-starter, so to speak. So that's been pretty dope, man, to see that. So as a parent, like, I can't even take a lot of the credit, man. It's just more or less checking up on him, making sure he's good, things like that. And he's been doing exceptionally well. So I'm very grateful for that, man. So it was a blessing for sure.
That is a
Okay.
blessing.
Yeah, yeah,
Right, right,
that's a tremendous blessing.
right,
My kids transitioned well. I had one in college, and that's already independent learning, as they say.
right.
So he was kind of already doing his own thing. So he just kept doing his own thing, but just virtually.
Mhm.
My kids that are still at home, my baby girl, I think she had the hardest time adjusting. Her grades didn't change or anything. Her grades stayed, amazing. But she's a daddy's girl, so throughout the day, she's gonna have to get unused to coming to me during every break and asking for hugs or laying on me
Oh, I
and
know that
being
feeling.
Right,
abundant.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So she's
Oh,
gonna
man.
have to that's the thing with her. She's gonna have to adjust, and she just told me yesterday she's not ready to go back to school.
Oh,
And I
wow.
know it's
Wow.
simply because she's used to being here under me all day
Right.
with us working from
Mhm.
home now. So I'm like, okay, you're gonna have to make that adjustment. But I'm gonna tell you this one thing I thought about when we were
Missing all
talking
those
since we're talking
hugs.
about the pandemic is, can you imagine if this pandemic happened without technology, like when we were younger?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you imagine
Now
what
that's
that would
crazy.
look like?
No computer,
No computers, like like you
man.
can't go to school. So I mean, I
We
wonder,
have a we'd have a whole bunch of worksheets, big stack of worksheets.
you
Man,
going back to
yeah, you
school
know what? I
every week.
never thought of that. That's crazy.
Yeah, you would
Never
have
thought
to
of that.
take home your little workbook. You know what I'm saying? You have a signed reading sheets. I thought about that. My mom actually brought that up to me. Shout out to my mom's. She asked me that. She said, "What do you think would have happened if this would have happened when y'all were younger?" I said, "I don't know, because we ain't had no technology
None.
to kind of be in between. So we just would have been just worksheet out. You just would have
Wow,
been going to the school every week picking up worksheets left and right. The
that's
copy
so,
would have been going crazy."
man. I literally never didn't think of that, man. I can
Yeah, I
imagine,
didn't yeah. I didn't
especially for
either.
those who were walking to school and had to go back and forth. If they had to go back and forth, oh
Oh,
man,
man.
that's crazy. That's
Yep.
crazy.
So that also means that parents that are working at home would not have been able to work at home.
No,
So
doing all
I
those
mean,
worksheets.
so if you can't work at home and you still have to go in to make your money, then you have to leave these kids at home. Which I can't lie, a lot of parents were leaving kids at home back in the day because we were at home.
Well, I mean, yeah, my brother used to watch me as a little. That was
Yeah,
my babysitter.
yeah. So
Mama was
also,
playing. Don't. That's where we got the don't open the door,
Yeah,
don't answer my door,
right.
don't go to my door, and you
yep.
don't
Yeah,
nobody, don't know nobody.
All those
exactly.
rules. So we had
Yeah.
that, but yeah, I think that was a great question from my mom when she asked me about that. So
Oh,
that was
yeah.
funny to me. And one other thing that we thought about that's on my list is during the pandemic, you noticed that more kids were outside. You know what I'm saying? More kids were outside playing, maybe just in their yard or, just trying to get out the house because they were tired of being cooped up in the house. And that was one issue that parents have now that we didn't have growing up because we were outside all the
Out
time.
all the time, right?
Like these
Mhm.
kids don't go outside.
Yeah. My youngest, like I said, is a tech kid, gamer. So he's in the house, man, all day. And that's his thing. So schooling fit perfect for him. And the gaming and all of that fits perfect for him. And it's like it just went super smooth. But man, like I'm like, dude, go outside, play, run. You know what I mean? Do something like that. And it's just, although he does it, it's just not his thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
don't think it's any of their thing.
yeah, they don't want to get out there and run like we used to
Yeah.
jungle gym and we used to
Yeah,
do all
be
of that. We
outside and
backflips and shoot flipping on mattresses and
oh,
doing all of that.
yeah.
We playing
I
football in the street on the concrete.
Yep.
I know
Ken was out there. Ken was out
my
there, right there
my
in
grandmother used to
Lancaster.
lock us out
Lancaster,
the
that's what we
house.
used to call it.
Yeah, it's like parents now that they don't do the thing where like my mother used to give us like three chances. You come in, you staying in, and we never exceeded those three chances. We were always outside, and my grandmother she would lock the door,
Right, right.
and honestly, the only time we really wanted to come inside was to get some water,
Yep.
and but now, not now. Like my little one, he's not really he's not as social as me, and for him to be inside, that's his thing. This is where he wants to be.
Do,
So
do y'all think that part of that is because of how now we're more concerned about protecting our kids from
I think so.
strangers, from
Yeah,
danger, compared to I grew up, we were allowed to roam free and do
yeah,
whatever we want.
right.
Nowadays, we got so much drama and so many things going on. Like we're more concerned. I mean, there's more laws that are weird, so to speak, but we're more concerned with protecting our kids. So a lot of us as parents are actually cool at times with our kids staying in the house. At least we know they're protected, so to
Yeah,
speak.
exactly.
Do you
Yeah,
think that that's because of the culture, so to speak, or do you see that at all? Us being super, super, super protective. Like I know moms now who don't even like their kids going outside to play with certain people. They only
yeah.
want them around certain people. You know what I mean? So maybe that's a cause of it as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think that I'm extremely, extremely protective of my kids. Even, my oldest son, I'm always like, oh, you drive, a luxury vehicle, and so you got to be careful. My other one is in college, and so
Right.
I'm like, it doesn't matter. Just, always be aware of your surroundings. And then the same thing with the little one. Hey, when you're outside, make sure you look all around the playground. But it's like you said, Benji. If I have no problem with either of them coming over and just staying here and
Staying
never
in the house.
leaving.
Right. Right.
you
No,
know,
true.
Yeah,
but
I think that's 100% true because Lord knows my mom still calls and checks on me every day. So,
yeah,
No, that's
yeah,
no,
um,
that's dope. That's dope.
from
yeah,
the
That's dope.
kid that,
yeah.
was outside, like Benji said, we grew up a portion of our childhood together. So we were just roaming. We were just
Hmm.
literally
Everywhere.
all over the little city
Yeah,
of Lancaster. We was
Yeah.
just everywhere.
At
So,
every girl house, at everybody
yeah.
house, at every oh my bad. I wasn't supposed to say that.
I'm gonna
but
need you to edit that.
yeah, yeah, but
I'm out of wine. Hold on, hold on.
That's the problem right there.
but we roam free. So like Benji said, for us, to have kids and not see them wanting to go outside and
Mhm.
enjoy the things that we found joyful as a kid, the things that
Right.
we had fun doing, like like Tori said, going outside and only coming in for water. And I can't lie to you, when I was at my aunt's house, we ain't come in for water. We had water hose out front.
I was
So
just going to say that. That's right.
yeah,
We
so
skipped through the
that's
water
where you
hose.
got your water from.
We avoided getting cussed out
Yeah,
and letting the flies in.
yeah.
Like it was nah. Don't be coming in and out my door. That was the thing. You letting my cold air out.
I ain't gonna
So
lie to you. The only time we went in is if you had to do number two. You had to do number two, you go in the house. If you had to do
right,
number one, you just find a little corner or something, you know what I'm saying, and you did your thing and you
Make it
kept running
happen.
and playing. Yeah.
right.
So it's just totally different. And the next thing on my list that kind of plays into that is talking about the kids is it seems like this generation is what we call the microwave generation, where they want
Yes.
instant gratification.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
because they have so much at their disposal and everything happens so fast.
Hmm.
Like they've become accustomed to having everything so quick
Quickly.
and instant. So I think that is weird for me too, because we didn't get that.
Right.
Everything was, if you ask mom, dad for whatever, if you ask them for some toys, you had to wait till the weekend generally, and then you can go to Toys R Us and shop. Now you got Amazon, and the
Right.
kids
Yeah.
know you got Amazon, and the
Mhm.
kids know that you can order it today and get it tomorrow.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. They own
So
it themselves. The kids is on it themselves.
Yeah, you
yeah,
know what? I was about to say something is that, my little one wanted some kind of anime shirt and I was like, "Well, we have to find it on Amazon." He goes, "I already looked this on there. We can order it." I'm like,
Right.
"They have access, you know?"
Right.
Just technology.
We're in the information era, and part of that too is that our kids are being overloaded with a lot of information.
Yeah.
I mean, they know a lot. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
know tons of things because they just have it's at their fingertips. They have access to so many things.
Mhm.
Um, Man, shoot, even from working when we used to go out, we used to have to cut the grass to make to play football or do this or do that. Nowadays, everything is just kind of instant for them. And
Oh,
shoot,
yeah.
man, I don't know if it's creating a bad work ethic in a lot of our kids. You know what I
yeah.
mean? But
I
I
mean,
mean,
that's
it's our reality today.
that's on my list, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit more toward the end of the show, because that's a big issue.
Right.
The technology,
Yeah.
and of course with the way the kids are being raised and the issues that they have. A
Hmm.
lot of the issues that they have come from and stem from the technology that they have access to,
Right.
because as we all know, just as much information as you can gain that's correct, it's two or three of them out of the group that's incorrect.
Incorrect. Right.
So
Misinformation.
yeah,
There's a quote by Denzel Washington that says he talks about journalism. He talks about in media how it's just get it out there, no matter who it affects, no matter who it messes with. Just get it out there. Just get it out there. And in that case, a lot of the misinformation that they get. And you can see it all over social media. People will talk about something that they have no idea about that they just saw on social media and take it as true. And so that misinformation
Yeah.
is hurting them as well. I had a full-fledged conversation with my son about vaccinations. And I'm like, you 12 years old, man. How you, how you know about this type of things? You know what I mean?
yeah,
But some of the
research.
misinformation is kind of interesting. You know what I mean? Because it's planted and it's
Yeah,
there and they believe it. And they're,
Right.
that being so gullible sometimes, they just take it and run with it. But it's
yeah.
information.
They get educated by memes, and that's the
Right.
weird part. Like they look at a
Yeah.
Right.
meme and they deem it, what I'm saying, the gospel. When they look at it, they like, oh man, this got to be true, because Denzel Washington said this quote, and Denzel Washington didn't say that. Somebody just put it on a nice picture, put Denzel's
Right. Put
picture
it
on the
on.
back, and put his name on it, and put what they wanted to put. So now you believe it because it came from a credible source.
Right.
So
Right.
Right.
it's all kind of crazy stuff. But like I said, we'll get a little bit more into that. But the other thing that I want to talk about with parenting next was the fact that there's more single parents now, number one, and also to piggyback on that, the grandparents are younger,
Hmm.
Right.
That's
right?
true. That's true.
So with the single parent thing, the kids are growing up faster, because a lot of times in a single parent household, you're being asked to do more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You've been
Yeah.
asked to do more, have more responsibility as a kid, because you don't have the other parent in the household to actually kind of balance things out.
Right.
So the kid is being placed in a position where they have more responsibility, and then you have the other aspect of which I said the grandparents are younger now, which plays the part of, okay, the knowledge that was passed down over generations.
Hmm.
A lot of that ain't been passed
And then
down.
passed down. That's very
Right.
true. Very
Yeah.
true.
Because you got to think about it. Your grandparents, my grandparents, they were 70, 60, 70 years old. They were old. So they had lived life, they had knowledge to pass down, they had wisdom to pass down. I can't lie to you. If your grandparent is 40, you know what I'm saying, or your grandparent is 50, they haven't lived as much as granny did at 70. So that
Right.
block of time that she was able to learn these things and give you this wealth of knowledge, the grandparents now don't quite have that because they're a lot
Right.
younger.
Right.
Yeah.
So therefore the kids are not being taught maybe some of the traditions aren't the greatest, but some of the traditions that will help them are being lost. Some of the knowledge that we gained from our grandparents and our ancestors are being lost because there's nobody to pass it down because it just skips over generations.
Right. And
Yeah.
some of them just don't want those old traditions. They don't want to learn that. You know what I mean?
That's
Like
true.
everyone wants to be very, very, very individual nowadays.
Mhm. Yeah.
So we don't, a lot of people don't believe in having a mentor or grandmother, those type, they don't value it as much. So yeah, I could see it. Like some of it is just rejected. Some of the information is just rejected. My grandmother passed when I was what, 8 years old.
Mhm.
So I didn't grow up with that, with her wisdom, so to speak. I had to get it from other sources who were grandmothers of other friends of mine, and so that was valuable. But man, some of them traditions, man, they getting us through today just by
I
learning it and grabbing a hold to it. Just
I think
learning from.
I look at to blame, not to blame, but just for the sake of the conversation, is to also to blame technology on that as well, because a lot of kids, when they want to know something, they'll just say, you know what, how do you do this, instead of getting up and coming and ask a parent.
Google.
They,
Right,
yeah, they look online first, and it's so prevalent in society today. I had a doctor's appointment, and one of the things that my doctor always says is, never ask Dr. Google. And she said, I see it so much that people now are looking at Google as a doctor instead of coming to the doctor. And
right,
so, kids are the same way. Rather than coming to parents and asking them a question, it's like, let me look at Google first. And that right there can also cause a disconnect. It's like, okay, I'm not going
sure,
to ask because I can find it out on Google. So they're never going to really get a chance if we allow them, don't allow them, but they're never going to get a chance to learn about our history and what we did and how our grandmothers and grandfathers raised us, and what the old school way. They're looking at technology, and it's almost like being raised and informed through technology.
Well, I want to point
sure.
out something that was key to that is you're looking at the difference between having knowledge and applied wisdom. Because
Yes,
the
there you
wisdom we
go.
got
There
from
you
our
go.
grandparents and people and our parents and things like that are life experiences and things that they had actually experienced and then applied information to it, so they had information to pass down or give to you because they
Right,
kind of had some experience in it. When you go to
Right.
Google and you say, hey Google, my what do I do for a throat, my throat is sore,
Hmm.
you're gonna have everything because
right. You don't know what
Yeah.
works officially. You don't
so
know.
the kids are
Yeah.
being hit with so much information, but they don't know how to apply it.
Exactly. That's
They don't
why
know.
I believe our folks, although they knew less, so to speak, they just had an applied wisdom. Man, they've been through something, as the old folks would tell us, bought experience.
Hmm.
They had that experience that was bought. Like they went through something, they
Mhm.
learned it. And then now that's why they can tell you, take a hot toddy, son. That works.
Yeah.
Get you a little lemon, get you a little honey, put a little whiskey in there, a little shot. It works because they
Yeah.
tried it, they applied it. They had to actually go out and apply or figure it out on their own. And that's what made them wise, because they could tell you, nah, I can't eat mushrooms. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like I can't do that. I can't do that because it was applied wisdom, and that's
Yeah.
critical. Also, very critical. So
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, because like I said, I mean, the I tell my sons all the time, it's easy to go and type in something on Google, man.
mhm.
But when it pulls up all this information, I can't lie to you. It's stuff that I've Googled and it pulled up all kind of wrong information. And I
Yeah.
Right,
knew it right
right,
away because of life experience. I'm like, okay, this is
right,
definitely not what I was looking for. But
right,
because
Yeah.
they don't know, you know, they just run with it and
right,
they just believe it's the gospel. And the next thing up on my list that kind of ties into the next thing is the therapy, right? There's more therapy now available. So in the past, the things that our grandparents and our parents went through, they didn't have really access to a lot of therapy, or they would, therapy wasn't a big thing. Now it is. But
Mhm.
what people have to understand is all these principles of therapy that are out there for you to read and learn about, you still don't know how to apply those things.
Right.
So you can go read these articles that tell you all this great stuff about this therapy, but you have to still go to a counselor to help you apply those things that you're reading.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Some
Because
of
to
us, our grandmothers were our therapists.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Big
true.
Mama was our therapist, or
And
uh,
it's only because of her life experiences. She had
right,
some experiences where she could tell you some things, and I have to explain that also to my kids. They often ask, well, they don't feel like some of the stuff that we do is warranted.
hmm,
And I have to explain to them, well, the stuff that we do or the stuff that your grandparents did is simply because out of necessity for the way life was at that point in time. And that's
Yeah.
the way they became to know things.
right,
It might not apply now, but when your grandmother tells you something, she's telling you based on her life experiences.
right,
Yeah.
right,
So, even if you don't want to apply it to yourself, just listen and understand that if she grew up in a time where she couldn't eat at a certain restaurant at a certain counter, you have never had to experience that. So you
right,
don't understand her anger towards situations or towards
right,
certain people. So we can't sit up here and say, well, she's wrong for the way she feels because she got life experiences that
right,
we never
Yeah.
been through.
right.
Yeah.
Her
We'll,
the
we'll never
injustice she
never
the
understand.
injustice she felt. Right,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, the therapy that's available to us now is, I tell people all the time, it's amazing. I'm an advocate for, seeking counseling, whether it's, I tell people all the time, I don't mind you going to your pastors and to your clergy people and to your churches, but also, seek counseling outside of the church, you know what I'm saying, as well, because sometimes the information that you get from both parties is going to be a little bit different, but you can find a common ground in between the
right,
two that'll make it work and make it mesh for you.
Hmm.
Because, I'm not going to lie to you. Some people just, you go to counseling and some churches, it's more biblical and it's
right,
based on
right,
that. And
right.
if you're not really keen on those principles, it's going to go over your head, or
Exactly.
you're not going to know how to apply it correctly.
Hmm.
You want to find a counselor, just like you look for a doctor that kind of fits you as a person, or a dentist that kind of fits you as a person. You might need to try out 3 or 4 counselors before you find the one
That you
that's
need. Exactly.
yeah,
That's very true. That's
yeah,
very true.
because you just can't go to one counselor and say, well, my homeboy told me to go to this guy and this guy's
Hmm.
good. Well, that guy's good for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You
it's
know,
very true.
Yeah.
It's
that
very
guy
true.
might not be good for you. It's just like with churches. Well, my family go to this church. That might not be the church for you. You know what
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm saying? So you might need to go somewhere else. So,
Yeah.
but like I said, those type of things with the therapy that's available right now, I think as far as parenting, that helps, because if you need help with with your child, or trying to understand things from their standpoint, or them trying to understand it from your standpoint, you can kind of bring counseling and therapy into it to kind of help, help in that manner, because you can't just sit there and tell a child, because I said so anymore. Like that's really
Yeah.
not. We
Yeah,
know
because they'll hit you with no, but I googled it and
Yeah.
well,
but I looked it up,
well,
and so you
well,
got to come correct in
we know now the effects of that, though. Because I said so is something that happened to us as kids, but
Yeah.
right,
we still didn't understand. So it's like it's useless, really, to say because I said so. But tell me, okay, I understand because you said so, but why?
Yeah.
right,
Allow your children to not question you. That's different. But
hmm,
ask why,
right,
this is pertinent information for them to know, so they can understand why they need to know this, or why they need to do this way. You know what I'm
right,
saying? And we got to learn how to discern between the two. And we have to explain to our kids so they'll understand, okay, I don't want you being disrespectful,
right.
but I'm going to answer this question because I want you to understand why I'm telling you to do it this way.
As
Yeah.
a parent, I've learned now in today's time, you do have to be on your game even more. Like the old strategies, some of them do work, but some of it is because your kids are a little smarter, a little more informed. you have to also be on your game as well. You can't just shoot them with any old story or any old idea. Some kids will respect it because they respect you, but overall, I don't know any parent that wants their kid to be to operating in the wrong space. So even us as parents, like we have to be on point as well. Um, just I mean, with a ton of things. Like my son, kid loves to spend money, man. So it's like, good grief, man. Like
I think they all
let me
do.
give you some tips on how to handle this, man. Hold on. Teach them how to fish instead of just giving
Yeah.
them a fish.
Yeah.
Idea. Those rules still apply. You know what I mean? So, as in our modern day, we have to be on our game as well, man, because these kids are coming, man. Like they pretty smart. These kids can, they got some information that actually helps us. And I'm gonna be honest, some of my son's schoolwork I can't help him with.
Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of parents. But one of the things I was
Uh-oh. Did she
Yeah,
freeze?
I think she froze a little bit, but one of the things that
wait for a
I was thinking.
response.
There she
Go
go.
ahead,
Did she go
go
back
ahead.
on?
Oh,
Yeah, she's back.
sorry.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was saying that one of the things that we have to do is be engaging with our kids and check on them and ask them how they're doing and wait for a response. Because some parents make it so routine that they may say, "Oh, how are you doing?" And the kid can say, "I chopped off somebody's head," and they're like, "Oh, okay, well that's good. Well, go do your homework." They're not engaging. They're not paying
Right,
attention.
right,
They're,
right, right.
so you have to be like that. I know that I always ask my little one, how are you doing? And
Mm-hmm.
then I'll circle back and say, "Are you sure you're okay?" And then I did that before, and he goes, "Yeah, Mom, I'm glad you asked me. I really miss my brother." And it was bothering him because his brother is in college, so he's the only one here. And
Right, right.
so he sat and he wanted to talk about it. And so parents have to be engaged. The things that may seem minute to us, they could be big to your kid. And so
Right.
I think that you definitely have to make sure you're in tune with your kids.
I agree. I totally agree. I
Yeah.
totally agree. There to
So,
tell them some of that stuff you were watching ain't legit, man. Turn that off. If you're
Yeah,
not engaging,
exactly.
I agree. I got
Yeah.
some. Oh man, this brought back some. This brought back
It's
some
process of
memories.
memories.
I won't share on this, but man, you have to be engaging, man, because man, as all that the information they getting and the videos they get
Oh
them, all
yeah,
of them
oh
ain't
my god.
wholesome. Let
Yeah,
us
them
pray.
those
Let us pray.
messages in the videos, those subliminal messages in the videos.
Right,
yep,
exactly.
yep,
And if you aren't, man, they'll catch a hold of some stuff, man. And yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
yep. And I want to talk about next. One thing that Benji brought up earlier was the cost of raising a child.
Right.
Mm,
Um, it seems like when we were kids, our parents talked about how much money they had to spend on us and how expensive things were. But I guarantee you, they couldn't have even fathomed how much things would cost now.
yeah.
For me, the first thing that you got clothes, you got food, the necessities. But the first time it really stuck out to me how expensive kids were when my kids started going to a school and they didn't have free lunch and I had to pay for their
Lunch
lunch every
every
day.
day.
Mhm.
Right.
Right, because when we were going to school, lunch was a quarter, 50 cents. You know what I'm saying? You get a full meal with a
Yeah.
milk or drink or juice. You get it all.
Right.
Man, that
Yeah.
my son came to me and said, "Dad, they have a thing now where you can put money on, my
Yeah.
account." So
Mhm.
Right.
I said, "Okay, I'm gonna go put money on your account. That's no problem. That's simple." So I went to the website and logged in and set up my account, and I was like, "Look at the daily amount." I said 250. I said 250 a day. I'm like, wait a minute, 250 every day for lunch. What
Plus
y'all get?
snack. You
Yeah,
get a
what y'all
snack
get?
too.
Oh, and
You
don't
better
get
add
don't.
a snack.
Let's talk about
That's
that.
a
Let's
dollar
talk about that.
25.
I had to have a conversation with my youngest son because he had this thing of, okay, well today I guess I'll just get me ice cream or I'll get me, And in my mind, I'm like, okay, well if it's 250 a day for 2 weeks, this is how much you need. And I'm seeing it after a week is they're sending you the notification your
He done
balance
ate extra.
is below
Yeah.
$5. I'm like, how?
He
Like,
fed
Little
the
man done snuck an
Sesame.
extra milk or
Yeah.
hey
two,
man,
man. He
you
done
know,
gave
it's
it to his partner.
itemized. It's itemized, and that's the funny part. We're talking
Right,
about the money. We're talking about, again, the technology where you can go and have access to look at what he's buying for lunch, what
right,
he's actually doing with that money. So
right.
those are things before, when our parents gave us lunch money. Sometimes, if they gave us money at the beginning of the week for lunch, we went to school, we might have spent it the first day, but they
First
didn't
day.
know it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
just know they gave us lunch money,
Right.
and we was supposed to be eating lunch every day, and we might have spent it at the candy house or
Right.
Exactly.
something.
Doritos
Yes.
and
are still popping
yeah,
back then.
and just hungry
Doritos been
every day.
around for a long time.
Yeah, and just hungry every day. And we know when we get out of school, we go straight home and fix us a sandwich or something because we ain't ate all day because we spent the money earlier. But that's one thing too I wanted to point out is our access to not only that lunch account, but their report cards
Right.
Yeah.
and everything dealing with school. But as far as the cost of raising a child, it's expensive. I don't know if
It,
you all have seen a difference from your
oh
oldest
yeah.
to
Oh
your
yeah.
youngest. So let's
It's
talk
it
about that for a minute. Have you seen a big difference in that, Miss Tori?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, so my little one, he wants a snack with his lunch. And I kid you not, I swear by Wednesday, I mean, we could put like $25 in there every other day. But it's like by Wednesday, you'll get that little notification, your balance is below $10. I'm like, what are you doing? And then to top it
He
all off, then
balling.
then you have one that's in college. And so one day I looked into his account, and as parents, we just make sure we have the money in there, so the card is always clear. So one day I looked at his account, and he spent $64 in one
Wow.
day. And so you know how you can click in your bank account and drop down. It's like, what did you spend $64 on? And so him and his roommate, they went and they ate. So he paid one time, and then his roommate paid the other time. And
Right.
then he said they missed the cutoff time to go to the cafeteria, or wherever, it in college,
Yeah.
where you go to the restaurant in the college or whatever. So he missed that, and so they went and they had something somewhere off campus, and then they went to Walmart, and he saw this shirt that he wanted. I'm like, that is $64 in one day. I'm like, and so oh my God, it gets worse. I'm like, and sometimes I don't even look. I don't look at the account because I know I'm gonna get ticked off. So I just like, you know what?
Just
I'm not
just
gonna,
eat it.
yeah, so it starts out at in fifth grade and it gets worse. And it gets worse.
I mean, it is more. Man, it's way more inflation. Everything, man. Like it's everything costs, right? You think of how much it costs to just make something up. This is stuff
Yeah.
we weren't necessarily taught also, but a lot of us. But what it costs to actually make something, the business that actually is running it. Our kids are we aren't really having a lot of those conversations with our kids, so they just think spend, 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 spend. So, like I said, man, my baby boy, man, he just he'll call you and ask you for $100. Like, what you need
like
$100 for,
it's like
man?
it's no yeah, like it's no
Well, I want
thing.
to take my friends, and I want to. I'm like, oh, that's okay. I see. I got it. And
Yeah,
he
he
on my
asking
text
for
message
hundreds, like
right now asking for money.
he
You
asking
know,
for 100, like it's 10, like back when we
yeah.
was
Right,
young. We
like
asked for 10 bucks, and we was
$100.
like, man, that's a lot of money. We gotta ask for $10.
Man,
They
you know
have
how
them.
much $100 would have got us back in our time, Ken? Man, we would have had. Man, we'd have been
Oh
balling with the
man.
honeys on the side. We'd have had
Oh
all
my
kind of stuff, man.
gosh.
I would have
But
felt like Scrooge McDuck with that $100.
but kids
Right,
have no concept, or of the price of a dollar, I should say.
right,
I've watched my kids in the store, and they pick up stuff, and they put it in
right,
the basket. Or I took them one time to the Nike outlet, and they just pick up stuff, and I'm like, you're not even looking at the price. Why you're not looking
right,
at the price? Because it's not your money. So that's
Yep.
right,
why you're not looking at the price.
right.
And I'm like, and so then you tell them to look at the price, they're like, it just says $45. I'm like, for a shirt? When
And gotta
that's
have it because you're gonna be the king at the
Gonna
school.
be
See,
yeah,
fly.
in our
exactly.
day, kid,
Yeah.
you can't go to school with no whack gear on, man. We
Yeah,
get
I
Oh
was
my
clown. They
trying
still
god.
get clown
trying to get
today.
I was trying to get me
But
some troop shirts, you know what I'm saying,
you
to
know what I'm
go with my
saying?
Oh
troop
my
shoes,
god.
You know what I'm
you know.
saying? some BKs, some
British
British
night.
yeah,
night.
You know.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know,
See that?
if we was able to get the other little stuff, you know, we were straight. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
But
see,
I
no,
mean
that's
that
crazy.
shoot, I think, man, that's something like, you know, our kids, even though they have all the information, they also have access to just a lot of things, right?
Yeah,
So they think everything belongs to them.
yeah,
They believe everything should come to them. They should be able to get anything. They should have
yeah,
access to anything. So,
Well,
um,
with you
yeah,
saying access and what belongs to them, I tell you what, we could talk about this for a minute too. These 24/7 access to their grades and a report card. Can you
oh,
imagine if your mom had access or your parents had access to your report card 24/7? Like
oh
we
my
live
god.
to say, okay, well, you know, the anticipation of getting your report card and seeing your grades and having to take your report card home that day. But can you imagine being able to see the progress of your grades every day? And if you weren't doing so well, you had that hanging over your head, and then you don't even have the fact of the surprise element of taking it to your parents for them to see it. Like they can click in and see it every day.
But
that was a
you
struggle.
know what, Ken, when okay, this I was kind of fortunate. I mean, I was a good student, but I was kind of fortunate because when I was in school, my mom was in college. And so I don't ever remember her asking me about no report card. I don't even think, I mean, I think she trusted that her kids were doing okay. I don't think that, no, she was worried about her own grades.
You get to graduation and be like, you ain't graduating. What?
You
How
got
you
held back in
serious?
the first grade. I ain't seen no report card.
I
It
know.
eventually come to the fan. It eventually hit the fan,
Yeah.
and yeah, well, you
I
know,
don't think,
I
yeah,
got a
she
plenty
just
of whooping for that. So,
so I but the thing, like you said, Ken and Benji, is that yeah, now you have access. Even my son in college, I mean, I'm sure he doesn't want me to look, but I'm going to look, and I'll ask him. Sometimes he'll change his password, and I'm like,
I think she froze again.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, for my daughter, I had to do that. Like,
yeah.
you know how you don't want to be the overbearing parent, you know what I mean? But sometimes you just have to go there
Oh no,
and
I had
check
no
it, double
problem.
check it.
Hey, did you turn in that history assignment? Because it says it's missing right now.
oh, I do
Oh,
that
oh,
all the
oh,
time.
so you did? Okay,
I
so
do
you need to
that.
go back to the teacher tomorrow, follow up with an email, and say, "Hey, Miss Jones, I did turn in that assignment. Can you please update the grade book because my
Right.
dad is asking about it."
Yeah, I'm sure my son. I'm sure there's probably plenty of times he turned his back and rolled his eyes. He's like, "Gosh, you got too much access."
I mean, hey, I'm checking it all. Just
Yeah,
the
Call the teacher,
yeah,
going up to the school, like
yeah,
what's going on.
the
I mean,
technology works both ways.
yep,
yes, it can work for you or work against you, right?
yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
And and that's a good segue too, because I want to talk about, we're getting toward the end here. So we got the good stuff, the good and the bad of technology, social media, the mobile phones. We laugh all the time, and this is, gonna be, shocking to some of you out there. You probably have kids that have a mobile phone that probably look at porn on their phone,
Yeah,
and you
Probably.
probably need to check their phone because when we was kids, we had to seek porn. If we
yeah,
wanted to find it, like we had to go get a book, we had to go get a tape.
yeah,
Like it was an
and
adventure.
hide it.
We had to find it.
Yeah.
Like now, these kids got access to it in the palm of their hand, pun intended.
Right.
Because
Gross. Ew. Ew. Ew.
because
Ew.
It's just
your
the truth.
kids
It's
have
just the
too much
truth.
access to certain things.
That means you're assuming that every kid is a boy.
No, I'm not
No,
saying.
some of the women are work. Am I
Yeah.
allowed to say this?
No,
Some.
he said in the palm of your hand.
No,
So
I
I
said,
mean,
they holding in the palm of their hand, but
yeah, but Benji
yeah,
said something. Okay, we're trying to
yeah.
let me
They
not
they get
digress.
it. They get
They
it.
get it. Trust me. Okay, I'll say this. Even the animated stuff is weird. So, like,
Oh
just
Yes.
one
yeah,
day, it
yeah,
Yes.
was. I just thought one of my kids was just watching regular Spider-Man, Batman stuff, and he had his little headphones in, and I'm thinking, oh, cool. Until hey man, take those headphones off. You know what I mean? I want to hear what you're listening to. And yeah, it was quite interesting. Then you take a look, and you're like, yo, like what the heck is this? You know what I mean? So like you got to pay attention to it. But I know people who grew up in households whose parents considered sex porn as art. So they actually encourage their kids to look at stuff
What
like that.
household
And
was
I
I ain't know
that?
know
none of
I
them people.
What
know
are you
kids
talking
who have
about,
parents
Benji?
like
I
that.
didn't know
So
none of those
Benji.
people.
I
Those
do,
people
man.
even live in my
Remember, we
neighborhood.
out here in California, man.
Yeah, that's
it's,
different.
it's a little different than back home in Texas, man. It's a little different, but yeah, I know.
Benji, are you in Cali?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
what part of California you're in?
I'm in Riverside,
We're gonna have to come
Riverside,
visit you.
California.
I love Cali.
Ken
Yeah.
was just down here not too long ago.
I
He enjoyed
know.
Yeah.
soaked up some sun.
Ken,
Next time we got to get him to come down here to the beach and stuff. You know what I
I'm gonna
mean?
have to leave you, Ken. We have to do our podcast from Cali because I'm on my
Well,
way to Cali.
that sounds amazing.
I'm
Come
getting
on,
closer and
come
closer
on.
every day to being in Cali.
But you know what? You know what? While we're talking about while I was talking about the access to things on their phone and the social media, they have a new thing that came with social media called cyberbullying.
Right, right,
When we were younger, we had bullies, of course, at
I hate
right.
school.
bullies. I cannot stand
So
bullies.
we dealt with that.
Yeah, we squabble.
Yeah, you just
We
fought
fought.
them. You just
Either you
fought them.
want
Really?
like
Y'all fought in school? I didn't fight in school.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
no,
didn't have
mean,
yeah.
you
Win or
seem too
lose.
nice. You don't seem like
Yeah.
you'll slap nobody.
Well,
So
it
I
was
didn't have to
it,
fight in
it, it
school.
was that thing of when I was coming up. You live in a certain neighborhood, you just already know you're gonna take some L's. So I think that's
right,
a
Well, what
lot of
y'all
right.
that's a
fight for? Like what? And this
It
is
could be
like
the
if somebody
stupidest thing,
what are
if
y'all
somebody
fighting
but
for?
if
like you
somebody's
probably clipped somebody on the. You could be practicing football, and
yep.
somebody probably thought you pushed them wrong or whatever, and they got beef with you, or like
Sometimes
some of
it's
the
just
silliest
it's,
stuff.
sometimes it's just a bully, somebody who
Right,
feels like they want to take your money, they want to do these things, and then you see it on TV where the people just give them the money or just back down. That ain't the way we was raised. You
right,
take your lumps, you take your L, but you don't let nobody take stuff from you,
right,
and you don't let nobody pick on you. So they knew, okay, that little dude right there gonna fight. So
right,
if you're gonna pick on me, fight come with it.
right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So, I might take a L, but I'd rather take the L and then people walk around and say, you know what, this dude's soft.
Right.
Mhm.
And you don't want the label soft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we was coming up around a bunch of animals. We was what 70s, 80s, Ken,
Yep.
80s,
So you
crack
had to,
era, and all of that. Era,
yeah.
man,
So you
yeah.
had to get it. You know what I'm
I
saying?
took a
It
couple
was,
L's, but they knew I'd fight a little bit.
yeah. So, and
Well,
that's
it's
the difference.
different now. There's not a lot
Yeah.
of fighting, it's
But
so
these
dangerous
kids, they
now.
don't fight, they won't
No.
fight, and they will continually, I guess, make themselves susceptible to the cyberbullying because they don't want to pull away from social media because it's their lifeline to their
Right, right,
friends, to people around them, and they're so used to it because you got to take into context, a lot of these kids, that's all they know because they've grown up with it.
right.
Yeah.
So it's
That's very
part of
true.
who they are. So they can't get away from it. So can you imagine, being caught on the stairs at school doing something dirty, and then somebody having video footage? Like,
Right, right, right.
it's gonna be all over the internet
It'll
before
be
you even get back to
everywhere.
school the
Yeah.
next day.
Our,
Where
our our internet, the way you knew is when we was fighting, it'd be in a circle. So everybody from the
Yeah.
school would be
yeah,
there,
Everybody
people
saw
would
that
and it
talk,
circle.
spread.
but it will go away. Like
Right,
some of the stuff that happens to these kids, it lives forever because it's a video.
Yeah.
right,
So if they got
right.
into a fight and got beat up, like that video is not gonna go away. You might see it go viral, and now they
World
got to
star.
relive that moment over and over and
Forever.
over again
Right,
Forever.
because this
right.
video is going viral. And then you have the the issue of, okay, you ever seen a video go viral, go away, and then 5 years later
They come back.
somebody does something and they just bring this viral video back. So
Right,
now this
right,
person has to relive that all over again.
Yeah.
right.
And
That's
that's
true.
another key thing that our kids have to deal with that we never had to deal with was the cyberbullying.
Yeah.
So, and the last thing I wanted to kind of discuss before we get up out of here that goes along with the cyberbullying and why a lot of these kids are cyberbullying is their sexual identity.
Mm,
So, This is the I saved this for
I don't
last.
e I don't yeah, I was like, "You shoulda did that first, because that's like,
Save this
man,
for last.
that's like
Yeah,
I
I think we
saved
can
this.
close the show on
Yeah,
this one for
I saved
sure.
this for
Oh
last
yeah.
wow.
because
Oh yeah.
this is the biggest thing right now. Is something that we never had to even like worry about as a kid. Is your sexual identity. Like that never came up until maybe you were older.
Right,
But
right,
as a kid in elementary, you weren't thinking, well, do you like girls? Do you like boys? Or you know what I'm saying? Like that wasn't something that was heavy on your mind as
right,
a kid, right?
Mhm.
right.
So, or if he liked girls or if she liked girls, like it just was a common thing. Like you know, he liked girls, she liked boys. Let's keep
And that's
moving
it.
forward.
Yeah.
That was it.
Or they hid it because it wasn't as accepted,
Yep.
I would say, so to speak. So a lot of people did hide their sexuality for fear of the possibility of being kind of ostracized a little bit. You know what I
And a
mean?
lot of them just didn't know what they didn't know what it was.
Right,
They had no clue what it was. So now that it's talked about, these kids are confused as it is because you know, as a kid, you're confused, like you're
right,
learning. But again, you're getting access to information that you don't know how to apply.
right,
So when you have access to information that you don't know how to apply, you just start trial and error.
right,
So
Mhm.
you start doing stuff, and then you have some of these kids who say, "Okay, well, I like boys now. I'm a boy, and I like boys." And then they start doing stuff, and then they get to a point in their life, and they were like, "Nah, I don't really
I don't
like
like
that.
that. Right,
Now I want to go over here." But they've damaged themselves in some aspects because if people know, okay, that he used to date boys, now he's trying to date girls, that transition is not going to
Yeah.
be, you know,
that's smooth. Right,
easy or smooth to, you know, to everybody. So, you know, that's stuff that we didn't have to worry about and that some of our older kids might not have had to worry about. But these kids nowadays, they're talking about that in first, second grade.
Yeah.
exactly. It's even the like what when did we get sex education? Not in elementary school, did we? We got it.
Yeah,
What?
it's elementary, because my son had to do it, last year.
Yeah, I think
He had to fill
I
out the
was,
paperwork and all that,
I think
yeah.
I was like fifth or sixth grade. You
Yeah,
know, for us,
probably so.
yeah, for
Right,
us, you know, elementary for us, you know, at that point was fourth grade and below.
Yeah.
So fifth grade for us was like, you know, what we deemed intermediate or
Yeah,
right.
middle school.
Intermediate
middle
school.
You know,
Right,
school.
right,
Yeah.
transition into that. So that's when kind of middle school age is when you got the
right,
sex
right,
ed talk. But even when we had sex ed talk, like there was no sexuality talk where it was
right.
like,
It wasn't
if
prevalent.
you're
Yeah,
gay or straight or bisexual, like none of that was even
right,
discussed.
right, right.
So
The
But
whole rainbow thing it was
yeah,
we didn't
yeah,
catch
but
it.
it
We
wasn't
didn't get it.
discussed.
That's true.
But it's coming out. Remember Ken on our show, I think earlier this year, we talked about how the NFL has that National Day of Coming Out. It's one of those days. It's one of those things where sports are now embracing it. I was watching the Olympics last night, and I saw that they had the transgender weightlifting, and
Right,
it was like, you know, they also have like the restrooms now. So it's like uh, boys, girls, or other, they'll have a him or and a slash. And so I forget what I was filling out, some type of paperwork I was filling out, and it asks you, how do you identify?
Yeah.
And
right,
so the world is kind of trying to open it up, but I think that also, because they're starting a little bit of this in the school, maybe when kids get older, it's not that they're necessarily going to embrace it, but they'll understand it, and they'll have, okay, I feel comfortable on this side, or I feel comfortable on this side. But if I think that if you teach them at a younger age, then they are more they'll probably understand it more. And then it also goes back to what we talked about earlier. Maybe there'll be less bullying in terms of when someone chooses, this is my identity, this is who I am. As a kid, they already know about it, so they're like, whatever you do, whatever you want to do, just don't bring it on my side. You remember when
right,
we interviewed Michael Bishop, and he said, "Look, I got to line up under a quarterback, under the center in a game. But if he's gay, or if he likes guys or whatever, as long as you take care of business, I don't care what you do." And
right,
so that's kind of how we have to look at it. Like I agree with some of the schools teaching the kids this at a young age. Because if you wait until you're older, like if I ask my mom or my aunt sometimes, they kind of like frown, but they didn't learn that as young, when they were younger. Like we're kind of, even as adults, we're kind of learning, some of the stuff now, some of the stuff we already knew. My little one knows about transgender because they teach it in his school.
Right.
So
I mean, gosh, it's coming. I think it's coming at us so fast
yeah.
and quick. Like the
Hmm.
rights and everything was passed. It's almost like you have to accept it.
Yeah.
And some of us still have, that resentment, like we were talking about earlier about grandmother, how she may feel about blacks and coloreds. She wasn't allowed to go into a certain restaurant. Some of us have experiences with that and have issues with it. You know what I mean? I personally don't. But I know friends I've counseled and things of that nature who are either homosexual or things of that nature. But nowadays, I think it's just coming at us so quick, you almost have to accept it, or you're considered like something's wrong with you
Yeah,
because
the
you're just
bad
a
person.
heterosexual man. Like,
Yeah.
I love women. Like,
Yeah.
when did it get to the point to where me loving women and wanting to only be with women become an issue? And now if I take that stance, I'm homophobic. It's
Hmm.
like, no. And so, it's becoming an issue. It's becoming a strong issue. But I think men just have to genuinely just be men. And when we don't straddle the fence either way, it's no different than any other thing that we ever fought in history. Men just
You
have to be men. You know what I mean? Be men about it.
You know,
I
I watched a movie one time, and I want to say something about what you said.
Right.
Benji, you said, "Oh, I like women," but I don't, I'm not, kid. You know how I can be sometimes. I'm not trying to go off the deep end, but I just want to say this. So, why is it then? And sorry, this is not about parenting, but why is it then that when a guy, like say a guy goes to jail, and a
Mhm.
guy in jail is with a guy when he's in jail? But when he comes out of jail, he's like, no, I'm not like that. That's just something that happened when I'm in jail. Why isn't that guy then considered, I guess, gay?
Maybe he was doing it
No,
for protection or something. I don't
Well,
know.
listen,
I'm
listen,
blessed. I ain't never been in that environment. So
listen. They I watch those jail shows and those prison
yeah,
shows. They call that gay for stay. I think that's the
gay
term
for
Mhm.
for it.
stay.
Mhm.
So, but in my estimation, if you sleep with men at any point, I don't care if you're in jail or not, like that's gay activity.
Exactly.
So I don't care, like
Yeah,
how you want to
it
deem it
is
or what
gay
excuse you want to
activity.
make
Yeah,
for it.
Right.
Like
Now,
you're
whether you
participating in this
change or not
activity.
is another story. If you change your behavior, you know what I mean. I mean, that's a different story. I ain't got nothing to do with that.
Hey,
But
it is what it is.
if we found out, we gonna roast you. It's as simple as that. Our
Yeah,
culture is known for roasting. We're gonna roast you. So you gonna get
I'm
these
just
jokes,
saying,
okay?
because
well,
those are the same people that'll come out and say, "Oh man, what transsexual, gay, I'm not down with none of that." But you were just doing that in jail, so it's like, I don't know. Do people have a warped sense of how they view certain things when they're in that thing anyway? But I know that's not about parenting, but it's about
yeah,
his
well,
parenting.
it's about parenting to some people because somebody out there to parent to some of them people in jail. So
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's an
yeah,
aspect of
That's the
parenting,
truth.
you know.
That's the truth.
But yep, that's another episode. We would definitely have to bring that up because yeah, that's very interesting.
we
But
need to bring it up on the show, that the midnight show that we want to do when
yeah,
we
yeah,
get
we
time.
got we,
Yeah.
we got some show ideas, y'all. We've been playing
Throw it
around with.
around.
So yeah, we definitely gonna come with some different stuff. But y'all, it's been great having y'all back for the first episode of season 3. We talked about parenting in 2021. Parenting now is totally different than it's ever been. And y'all, we just gonna have to do better moving forward. We have too much information on our hands not to do better and be better parents and be more effective at parenting going forward. So, with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Miss Tori,
Thank you
we
so
got
much for
Benji,
having me on your
we got
show.
Benji
I
Banks,
enjoyed it.
we got Benji Banks. Y'all, we're
Thank you,
gonna be
sir.
back every week. We're gonna bring y'all
Yeah.
something new. Some weeks we're gonna have some conversations. Some weeks we're gonna have some interviews. Y'all make sure y'all tune in. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all, and keep tuning in each week. We will keep bringing
Copy
you
share.
The
Yes.
Fire Session
Keep it
podcast.
keep it
We
fire.
appreciate y'all. Peace.
Peace.